Jai Shri Gaura-Nitai. Vandeham Shri Juta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajata Sahagana Ruganatanditam Tam Sajivam Advaitam Sadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhambitam Namo Paraya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Ashtadesha Tarine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Ashtadesha Tarine Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Yadvaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Shiva Bhakta Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Vishnu Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jai Shri Krishna Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jai Shri Krishna Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jai Shri Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram.
A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavita ki jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Naam Acharya Srila Haridas ठाकुर की जय प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम राधा कुंज गिरि गोवर्धन की जय वृंदावन धाम की जय नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जय गंगा माई की जय जमुना माई की जय तुलसी देवी की जय भक्ति देव की जय शोभा भक्त वृंद की जय इसकान संडे फीस्ट प्रोग्राम की जय गौर प्रेम आनंदे all glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glory to Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga Hari Hari Bol. Okay. Okay.
Hare Krishna, devotees, all that you have come and joined us both on YouTube and our Zoom channels. Thank you for coming tonight. We had a little bit of a change in the way that we normally do things. So we'll do the introduction now before the Jaya Radha Madhava are welcome. Those that are observing the Easter holiday, Happy Easter. We're going to do a quick darshan of Srila Prabhupada and the deities, and then we will begin our Bhagavad Gita study for tonight. We are doing the second chapter. We're continuing on. Last week we had our Gaur Purnima festival. And we have a couple more weeks to go in the second chapter. And tonight we'll be hearing from His Grace Haryashva Prabhu. We'll get to an introduction to Haryashva Prabhu in a minute, as I walk over here to give us darshan of Srila Prabhupada. There we go. His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
Parama Karuna Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki.
Jai.
Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani ki.
Jai.
The most beautiful Lordship Shri Shri Radha Sharad Bihari ki.
Jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Beautiful.
Okay, so at this time, we're going to begin the Bhagavad Gita presentation. Haryashva Prabhu, many of you already know, but just a quick introduction. He's a disciple of His Holiness Satsrup Maharaj. A long time Philadelphia devotee. He's been here in Philadelphia preaching and practicing Krishna consciousness since the 1970s. A host of services, serving as a Sankirtan devotee, through book distribution, living here in the ashram in the Philadelphia Temple, and also down on South Street, where he is involved with Govinda's restaurant, lots of prasadam distribution and lots of preaching. Many of us know him recently from the classes that he's been giving on Japa on Saturday mornings with the Japa Reform, Japa Rehab, and just here to encourage the devotees. He facilitates the Bhakti Garden down on South Street, 1408, home of the Panchatattva. So we're going to get going here. We're at 5:15. We'll go until roughly 6 o'clock. And we ask that the devotees at this point, if you can, put yourselves on mute. And we'll have time for questions towards the end of the talk. Hare Krishna. And
You already chanted Radha Madhava.
yeah. There we go. So,
Hare Krishna. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vistaya Bhutale Srimati Satrup Das Goswami Namane Satrup Avidam Vande Vinditam Sadabhushnam Bhakti Grantanalai Punyam Bhaktivedanta Shikshitam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vistaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Sarasvati Devi Gauravani Vicharne Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Satarne. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, and we're going to read several texts. We're starting at text 58. And it's interesting. I'm trying to mentally count. But anyway, it's an opportunity for us to share, Krishna's conversation with Arjuna. And Vishnu Gadadhar Prabhu gave me this section to do. And my section is, acquiring a higher taste. It's about the higher taste. So I'd just like to say that this Gita study has been going on for several weeks, maybe 1 month. But basically, we've been in the second chapter. And where we're at now, Arjuna had asked Krishna a while back. Arjuna said, "Oh, Krishna, what are the symptoms of one whose consciousness is thus merged in transcendence? How does he speak? And what is his language? How does he sit? And how does he talk?" So these things are being answered. And now today we're at text 58. So that's as far as I'm going to go as a recap. And we're just going to start. I'm just going to read it and discuss them, and I'll read Srila Prabhupada's purports. It's most of them. So text 58. And at the end, maybe there's some questions and comments. Yada samharate chayam koman ganiva savasha indriya tebyas tasha prajna pratisthita. One who is able to withdraw his senses from sense objects, as the tortoise draws its limbs within the shell, is firmly fixed in perfect consciousness. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The test of a yogi, devotee, or self-realized soul is that he is able to control the senses according to his plan. Most people, however, are servants of the senses and thus directed by dictation of the senses. That is the answer to the question as to how the yogi is situated. The senses are compared to venomous serpents. They want to act very loosely and without restriction. The yogi or the devotee must be very strong to control the serpents, like a snake charmer. He never allows them to act independently. There are many injunctions in the revealed scriptures. Some of them are do nots, and some of them are do's. Unless one is able to follow the do's and the do nots, restricting oneself from sense enjoyment, it is not possible to be firmly fixed in Krishna consciousness. The best example set herein is the tortoise. The tortoise can at any moment wind up its senses and exhibit them again at any time for particular purposes. Similarly, the senses of a Krishna conscious person are used only for some particular purpose in the service of the Lord and are withdrawn otherwise. Arjuna is being taught here to use his senses for the service of the Lord instead of for his own satisfaction. Keeping the senses always in the service of the Lord is the example set by the analogy of the tortoise who keeps the senses within. So you hear the point here is to withdraw the senses from the sense objects, as the tortoise does, but the proper engagement for the senses, it uses the senses in the service of the master of the senses, Hrishikesh. And that's a very simple explanation. And so those who are trying to traverse the path of yoga, bhakti, or just trying to become self-realized, they must adhere to some type of restrictions, because the senses here are compared to serpents that want to act loosely at any moment. And what's interesting is that here we're trying to speak about acquiring a higher taste and restricting the senses. But we're in an environment which is so toxic because our environment says, yes, you have senses, enjoy them, to the fullest extent. So there's a lot of conditioning, both gross and subtle, which make it difficult for most people to think of restraining the senses. It just seems somewhat foreign. As a young man, it's natural that now it's Easter Sunday and it's springtime. And spring does something, to your conditioned nature. Everything becomes alive and begins to blossom, and you hear the birds. So many things are happening. Everyone comes back out. So, and Krishna says, even of seasons, he's flower bearing spring. So spring is a very wonderful, joyous time for most people who've been kept in. But here we're talking about being successful and learning to control the senses. Why? Because the indulging in sense gratification really won't make the spirit soul happy. And most of us, regardless of our situation, whether we're rich, poor, young or old, whatever our endeavors are, we look for two components in life. We want to really be happy, and we want to experience contentment as well. So these things just won't manifest by engaging the senses with the objects of the senses. And, it becomes a little deeper, and people say they're looking for love and things of that, but we'll let it go on. But we've known that we look for love, we think we find it, and all of a sudden there's such heartbreak. And there's so many different emotions which are invoked in this pursuit of happiness through the senses. Another thing is Krishna told Arjuna earlier that he's not this body, that he's the self within. And later in the Gita, we look at this body as the field of activity, where everything is taking place with the gross and subtle body, with the mind and with the senses. So this is our field of activity, this body. But I want to keep the storyline going, so I'm going to continue to move on. We'll pick up. Text 59, Vishaya Vinivartante, Yarahash Rasha Dehina, Rasa Vrajam Rasop Yasha, Pram Drisva Nivartate. Though the embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, the taste for sense objects remains. But ceasing such engagements by experiencing a higher taste, he is fixed in consciousness. So at least we understand that the negation of this is that at least we should be experiencing a higher taste. Is this difficult to do? Well, let's find out. Let's listen to Srila Prabhupada. Unless one is transcendentally situated, it is not possible to cease from sense enjoyment. The process of restriction from sense enjoyment by rules and regulations is something like restricting a diseased person from certain types of edibles. The patient, however, neither likes such restrictions nor loses his taste for edibles. Similarly, sense restriction by some spiritual process like Astanga Yoga and the matter of Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, etc., is recommended for less intelligent persons who have no better knowledge, but one who has tasted the beauty of the Supreme Lord Krishna in the course of his advancement in Krishna consciousness, no longer has a taste for dead material things. Therefore, restrictions are there for the less intelligent neophytes in the spiritual advancement of life. But such restrictions are only good until one actually has a taste for Krishna consciousness. When one is actually Krishna conscious, he automatically loses his taste for pale things. So this is huge, because it's explained that we have to have that higher taste. And so many people, so many of you are new. You come to Krishna consciousness. There's something about devotional life that is attractive to you. And you have an interest. And even those of us who have been around for a while, we're interested. But the senses are so strong, and the objects of the senses, it's like a magnet. And then you have to look at the influences of the modes of material nature. What to speak about the three kleshas, Adiyatmaka, Daivika, and Adibodhi. So these are energies, these are things that are taking place outside of us. We don't really control the modes of material nature. We don't control the threefold miseries. Miseries coming from our own body and mind, miseries coming from other living entities, or miseries coming, by natural hurricanes, droughts. We don't control those things, but yet still we're caught up in them. So getting this higher taste seems very, very important for a person who wants to be serious about spiritual life. And me personally, I understand the difficulty with getting that higher taste. In other words, when you come and dive into a kirtan, you're tasting. When you look at the beautiful form of the deities here, Radha Bihari, Jagannath, going at time, you're tasting. But is it enough to last when you go back and when you're no longer protected by this environment? What do you do then? How does the taste remain? So Krishna consciousness isn't just for the temple. Krishna consciousness means to be aware, to be conscious. And to be conscious means that we are aware of the Supreme Lord and our relationship. Arjuna is taking us through such a nice process because for some points, Arjuna has been placed in illusion so that we can see what it's like. And so that Krishna can give such wonderful instruction to Arjuna. But the practical aspect is still there. How do we change the trajectory of our lives? And even though we want to become more spiritual, or let's say Krishna conscious, how do we get that taste? And I want to keep going with Prabhupada. Tani sarvani samyamya yukta asita matpara vasehi yashendriyani tasha prajna pratishtita. One who restrains his senses, keeping them under full control and fixes his consciousness upon me, Krishna is saying, is known as a man of steady intelligence. Buddha yoga was spoke of earlier. This coming to Krishna, with intelligence, using our intelligence. Prabhupada interchanged Buddhi and Bhakti. So devotion to Krishna with intelligence. We surrender to Krishna. We take to the process of Krishna consciousness. Let's hear Srila Prabhupada. That the highest conception of yoga perfection is Krishna consciousness is clearly explained in this verse. And unless one is Krishna conscious, it is not at all possible to control the senses. As cited above, the great sage Durvasa Muni picked a quarrel with Maharaj Ambarish. Ooh, I'm sorry, I missed one. And it's too important. I got to go back.
Yes, Prabhu. You missed the 60, Prabhu.
Yes, I missed 60. So
Text 60.
I got to go back. Yayato Yapi Kunteya Purushasha Vipashtita Indriyani Parmatini Haranti Parshaba Manaha. The senses are so strong and impetuous, O Arjuna, that they forcibly carry away the mind of a man of discrimination who is endeavoring to control them. So here's again the nature of the senses, so strong that they forcibly carry away the mind of a man who's got the ability to discriminate. And so here we're going to get three aspects to look at. There are many learned sages, philosophers, and transcendentalists who try to conquer the senses, but in spite of their endeavor, even the greatest of them sometimes fall victim to material sense enjoyment due to the agitated mind. Even Vishvamitra, a great sage and perfect yogi, was misled by Menaka into sex enjoyment. Although the yogi was endeavoring for sense control with severe types of penance and yoga practice. And of course, there are so many similar instances in the history of the world. Therefore, it is very difficult to control the mind and senses without being fully Krishna conscious. Without engaging the mind in Krishna, one cannot cease such material engagement. A practical example is given by Sri Yamuna Acharya, a great saint and devotee, who says, this used to be the Brahmachari theme verse. Yadavai mama cheta Krishna padartha vinde, nova nova rasa dhamman yujitam ritamasid, tadavahi bhata nari sangame smayamane, bhavati mukha vikara sustu nisivanam cha. And he says, since my mind has been engaged in the service of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, and I've been experiencing and enjoying an ever new transcendental humor, whenever I think of sex life with a woman, my face at once turns from it, and I spit at the thought. So now you have comparisons. We know that it's difficult, but here, the great sage Vishvamitra, he was undergoing so many austerities, so elevated, but hearing those ankle bells, those bells of Menaka, pulled him down, and he was pulled into sex life. And there's many others who were pulled also. Here on the other side, you have Jamunacharya, who's done with it, you know. He's just done with mundane sex life. Why? Because he says, you know, since he's been engaged in the service of the Lord, he's experiencing an ever new humor, a new taste. Therefore, when he thinks of such engagement, he spits at the thought. So where do we fit in? But here, as we go further, we know that there's 9 processes of devotional service: Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam. These 9 processes of devotional service, these processes are engagement for our senses. Devotional service is so powerful. I was reading today, 3rd canto. It's so powerful that it dissolves even the subtle body. Therefore, proper engagement of the senses in the service of the Lord, the master of the senses, empowers us to be successful. So what does that look like? It looks like the verse I skipped to, where Maharaj Ambarish, who was having so much trouble with Durvasa Muni, who was quite strong, but Maharaj Ambarish was a devotee of the Lord. And what was his situation there? Savai mana Krishna padartha vindayo, vachamsi vaikunta, gunana vardhane, karo hare mandira mandanati shu, trutim chakra chuta, sat katodaye. And it goes on. But what did he do? King Ambarish, he fixed his mind on the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, engaged his words in describing the abode of the Lord, his hands in cleansing the temple of the Lord, his ears in hearing the pastimes of the Lord, his eyes in seeing the form of the Lord, his body in touching the body of the devotees, his nostrils in smelling the fragrance of flowers, offered to the lotus feet of the Lord. His tongue in tasting the tulsi leaves offered to him. His legs and traveling to the holy places where the temple is situated. His head and offering obeisances unto the Lord, and his desires and fulfilling the desires of the Lord. All these qualifications made him fit to become a Matpara, devotee of the Lord. So that is our position. If we really want to experience a higher taste, we have to take advantage of the process of Krishna consciousness. The process of Krishna consciousness is there. It's very clear for us to see, but we have to take it. And even if we feel weak, we take the association of devotees and we become strong. It has to be taken. If we don't take to the process of Krishna consciousness, then it sounds strong, but all is lost. Because there's so many examples of how great, exalted personalities were pulled down by any one of the Roman senses. Therefore, we have to acquire a higher taste. I say, are we not tasting when we listen to the descriptions that Krishna gives Arjuna through the process of karma, jnana, and bhakti, ultimately to bring Arjuna to the lotus feet, to bring us to the point of surrender? Are we not tasting? When we hear the Srimad Bhagavatam, Nigama Kalpataro Galitam Palam, Shuka Mukha Amrita, Dravasam Yuktam, Pipat Bhagavatam, Rasamalayam, Ohuraho Rasikabu Bhavaka. All the expert and thoughtful men, they relish Srimad Bhagavatam. Why? Because it's the mature fruit of the Vedic literatures. It's like Amrita, it's nectar, and it's even sweeter because it emanated from the lips of Shukadeva Goswami. But the Bhagavatam is dynamic. We hear of the sweetness of the Bhagavatam, but actually there's other aspects which show how futuristic. Tadavahi nama chektak Krishna padartha vinde. No. We're in the Bhagavatam. It says, on the other hand, that literature, which is full of descriptions of the transcendental name, fame, form, pastimes of the unlimited Supreme Lord, is of a different creation, full of transcendental words meant to bring about a revolution where, in the lives of this world's misguided civilization, such transcendental literatures, even though imperfectly composed, should be heard, sung, and accepted by purified men who are thoroughly honest. Are we not tasting? So the process is there. But to speak of, Harinama, 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 Eva Kevalam, Kalo, Nasteva, 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 Gatiranyata. This age, the taking of the Maha Mantra, the chanting of the holy name, that is the real nectar. And so I have so much sweetness, so much nectar. But the real nectar, to me, comes from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's just inundating the place with nectar. But he also has a methodology to clean us up. And as local people, we chant it. Chaito Darpanamarjanam, Bhava Mahadavagni Nivarpanam, Shreya Kaivara Chandrika, Vitaranam Vidyavadu Jivanam, Anandam Buddhi Vardanam, Prati Pradam Pranam Ritash Vadanam, Sarvatma Snapanam Param, Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtana. All victory to the Sankirtan movement. Why? The chanting of the holy name of Lord Krishna, which can cleanse the mirror of the heart and stop the miseries of the blazing fire of material existence. That chanting is the waxing moon that spreads the white lotus of good fortune for all living entities. It is the life and soul of all education. The chanting of the holy name of Krishna expands the blissful ocean of transcendental life and gives a cooling effect to everyone and enables one to taste full nectar at every step. Are we not tasting? We're tasting. But we have to take to the process of Krishna consciousness. We take it and we find that the strength to break those serpent-like fangs is there. And I found here in this book, which was given to me last week, I found another rendition of another sweet verse I used to chant. I found this verse 3 places now. It's Madhura, Madhuram, Etan, Mangala Mangalanam, Sakama Nigam Vali, Chatpalam, Chitrupam, Sakripi, Pardigitam, Shraddha Hilaiva, Briguvara, Nara Batram, Tarayat Krishna Nama. Here it says the holy name of Krishna is the highest benediction above any other benediction. It is sweeter than the sweetest honey, the eternal fruit of transcendental knowledge of the tree of the entire scriptures. O best of the Bhargavas, if anyone chants Lord Krishna's name just once without offense, whether he chants with faith or indifferently, the holy name immediately liberates him. So we have to believe it. We believe it and we can act on it. All that's being asked of us is to give a little faith, just a little faith. And the process is so dynamic. You come, you associate on Sundays because all of us have had some taste. We've had some taste, but that real taste comes from adhering, surrendering to the process of Krishna consciousness. When we do that, we find that the strength we're looking for to traverse this path of sense gratification is there. But what do we have besides this? If we don't do it, what happens? That's the point. So the point is a point of intelligence. With our intelligence, we surrender to the process. With our intelligence, we engage in the service of the Lord. Other than that, we're stuck with the senses that want to act loosely at any moment. And so, it's the next part of our higher taste. And this part, I think you already know. Dayato Vishaya Pungsam Sangas Teshu Pajayate Sangat Sanjayate Kama Kamat Kroda Bijayate. Kroda Bhavati Samoha Samohat Smriti Vibrama Smriti Brahmshad Buddhi Naso Buddhi Nasat Pranashati. While contemplating the objects of the senses, this is what Krishna told Arjuna, a person develops attachment for them. And from such attachment, lust develops. From lust, anger arises. From anger, complete delusion arises. And from delusion, bewilderment of memory. When memory is bewildered, intelligence is lost. And when intelligence is lost, one falls down again into the material pool. So it's either true or it's not. It's natural. The senses are here, and the objects of the senses, there is a natural attraction. Just as a young boy is naturally attracted to a young girl, our senses are attracted to the objects of the senses. But if they're not engaged in the service of the Lord, then we're forced to engage in nefarious activity and to put all of our hopes, dreams, and plans in that direction. And it doesn't work. A clear description is given here. So, Krishna consciousness, I find to be extremely juicy. I haven't found that taste which enables me to become a steady devotee. Nishta is something that looks like I'm looking through an hourglass, a tunnel. I don't see it. But I do see where I've come from. I'm a young boy who came from South Philadelphia, doing all the things that young boys would do on the weekends. And we don't even discuss those things. But my point is, the taste for those things It's not there. I mean, I just can't imagine. So the process which is being discussed here, by dint of our own projecture, by dint of our own experience, our own realization, we will know that this is working. You just simply take it. If you take it, you will know that it works. But you have to truly take it. So we're up and we're down, and that happens. But the point is to steady ourselves by controlling the mind, taking shelter of the holy name, taking shelter of the other processes of Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada makes a nice closing in this last purport. He says, by development of Krishna consciousness, one can know that everything has its use in the service of the Lord. Those who are without knowledge of Krishna artificially try to avoid material objects, and as such, although they desire liberation from material bondage, they do not attain to the perfect stage of renunciation. Their so-called renunciation is called palgu, or less important. On the other hand, a person in Krishna consciousness knows how to use everything in the service of the Lord. Therefore, he does not become a victim of material consciousness. For example, for an impersonalist, the Lord or the Absolute, being impersonal, cannot eat, whereas an impersonalist tries to avoid good edibles. A devotee knows that Krishna is the supreme enjoyer and that he eats all that is offered to him in devotion. So after offering good edibles to the Lord, the devotee takes the remnants called prasadam. Thus, everything becomes spiritualized and there is no danger of a downfall. The devotee takes prasadam in Krishna consciousness, whereas the non-devotee rejects it as material. The impersonalist, therefore, cannot enjoy life due to his artificial renunciation. And for this reason, a slight agitation of the mind pulls him down again into the pool of material existence. It is said that such a soul, even though rising up to the point of liberation, falls down again due to his not having support in devotional service. So that higher taste, it is truly there. It's here in Krishna consciousness. We're so trained up for degradation. We're trained up to fail in spiritual life. The aspirations that we had as a young boy, you have to go to school, you go to work, you make money, you get a wife, you get a certain house, you buy a bunch of stuff, and that is considered a very nice life. And your parents are proud. The better you're at it, that you just make your whole family proud, and you feel a little proud yourself. But ultimately, always in back of us is death. Youth very quickly leaves, and that cat, that big fat cat of time, is always in back of us. I was reading earlier about the kitten and the mouse, that the cat, when the cat sees the kitten, picks the kitten up in his mouth. And when a cat sees the mouse or the rat, the cat also picks up the mouse in his mouth. When the kitten is in the mouth of the cat, the kitten's like, mommy. The kitten's happy. But the mouse is horrified because he knows this is cruel death. So to one extent, we've been bamboozled, we've been cheated from the cradle to the grave. We're being told that happiness can be there by enjoying our senses and enjoying the objects of the senses. Religiosity has become just a fashion, because real religiosity means that we find out who we are, who the Supreme Lord is, what the purpose of this life is, and we try to execute it so that we can attain the desired goal, which is love of God. Not that we say, I go to this place to worship on this day, and we go back and we carry on with our bad habits. So Krishna consciousness is the winner for all of us. Krishna consciousness enables us to taste the sweetness that comes from being engaged in spiritual life right now. We don't have to wait to die. We experience it now. That higher taste can be had in the process of devotional service. And that's my take on it. You know, I think I got it in quick enough.
Take some questions now.
Yes. Yes.
Either the devotees here or online.
It was funny talking like this in front of Vishnu Gadad. But it's okay.
If there's anyone on Zoom that has a question, you can raise your hand. If not, put it in the chat. And if there are no questions, I don't see any hands. So, Haryasha Prabhu, you speak a little bit about Mother, both you and Mother Sangeeta are going to say something about.
Is she here?
She's the one here. But why don't you start
Okay, yeah,
off?
I'll introduce it. So, today is Easter Sunday. You know, it's Resurrection Day of Lord Jesus Christ, and so many people take this as a very special day. We remember Easter Sunday here in Philadelphia as a day when one of our dear devotees left this world, and that's Mother Savitri. Mother Savitri has been a devotee here in ISKCON, Philadelphia, for a couple decades. And the service that she performed as a bookkeeper, treasurer, the person who knew where everything was hidden, you know, all the secrets to what made us work were known by Mother Savitri. And whoever came, at some point, they were going to have to go to Mother Savitri and find out, get different information. So she was more than a bookkeeper, the treasurer. And I would call Mother Savitri. I say, Mother Savitri, and she'd always say, yes, son. You know? She never let me get by with just calling her Mother Savitri. She had to call me son. And it's infectious because sometimes, you know, Mother Sangeeta calls me son too. She had to hear that from Mother Savitri. But Mother Savitri was also very dear to Mother Sangeeta. I don't know how Mother Sangeeta says it, but I look at her, I thought the relationship became a shiksha relationship, that Mother Sangeeta became everything for her. She became her direction, her friend, her spiritual inspiration, and her guide. And so today, the feast is also sponsored in honor of Mother Savitri, and has been sponsored by Mother Sangeeta. So I'm just the appetizer. Mother Sangeeta is really going to be the main course. So I'm hoping that now she'll begin to speak about Mother Savitri.
Yeah, thank you so much for a wonderful class, Haryasha Prabhu, and for speaking about Savitri. I know that you two had an amazing relationship as well.
The cookies.
Yes. Yeah, she was an amazing cook. Today is the second anniversary of her disappearance from this world. It's a very difficult day for me. I miss her every day, and I will probably miss her every day for the rest of my life. She was not just my closest friend for 25 years, she was like my sister. She was a family member. She was part of our family, and very, very special to us. Savitri had so many Vaishnavi qualities. It's so hard to even list all of them. There were so many. And it would take hours and hours to speak about all of her qualities, her abilities, her talent. She had a desire one time to learn how to do beading for the deities. So she just watched some YouTube videos and went online and learned how to do it herself. And not only did she learn how to bead, but she became expert at beading, expert. And she made it her goal to make I have a little Radharani Govardhan Shila who's 1 inch tall. And she made it her goal to make her dozens of veils. And not only did she make her veils, she made her lengas. They look like lengas that women wear. And she would call her the little lady. She goes, I have a new lenga for the little lady that I made, and they're gorgeous. They're just so beautiful. And every day Radharani wears her beading work and her offering to Radharani. And just one of the greatest qualities that I admired about Savitri, and I said this at her memorial service, is that she knew how to keep confidentiality. And this is an extremely rare quality in Kali Yuga. I mean, who do you know who you can reveal your mind to, your deepest, darkest secrets, and they will keep it with you forever and, with them forever, and never reveal this to anyone. And this was Savitri. Her father was a lifetime military man. He was a colonel in the army, and he worked for the army intelligence, and he knew a lot of secrets. And she used to say, it's in my DNA to keep secrets. So she really knew how to keep confidentiality, and I knew that I could reveal my mind and heart to her, and it would never go any further. And that was a very special quality of Savitri. I never knew anyone like that. She was incredible with that. And Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, of secret things I am what? Silent. And Krishna really gave her that ability to keep silent about important matters. And I just really had so much respect for her in so many ways. But that really, I just hold her up on a pedestal for that one, because it's so rare to find someone like that. She struggled with her health her entire life, but she did the service of at least 6 devotees there. She lived in the temple about 30 years altogether between Baltimore and Philadelphia. And she never had a desire to move out of a temple. She just had no desire to do anything but serve Srila Prabhupada and the deities and the devotees. That's all she wanted to do. She had no separate desire to go live outside, get an apartment. She didn't want to do that. She just wanted to stay in the temple and serve. So for 3 decades, that's what she did. And she would have just kept doing it if Krishna had allowed that. So I feel really honored to have had her in my life for so long. And and I feel really honored that she had the doctor call me at 5 a.m. to rush down to Einstein Hospital and be with her in the ICU. And I told her I would stay there for as many days as it took, but I knew that she was going to let go that day because of her signs and symptoms. And I was her medical power of attorney, and I spoke with her and I said, you don't want to live like this and you don't want to die like this. We've talked about this for years. So we agreed, and I had the doctors take her off all the machines, and in 2 hours, she was gone. But Jagannath Priya was there with me, and we chanted. Prabhupada chanted in her ear the whole time. I had Lord Jagannath deities on her heart and Prabhupada on her heart. She had the most auspicious departure that she deserved. And Prabhupada and Krishna arranged all that for her. I have no doubt where Prabhupada brought her. And that's my saving grace. That's my solace when I miss her daily. I remember that wonderful, auspicious departure that she had. And I know that she's happy and that she's doing well. And actually I said to her, what am I going to do without you, Savitri? I said to her, and she said, I'm so sorry that I'm leaving you here alone, but you'll be coming soon. You'll come and we'll be together again. And we were crying together. And she said, I said, Savitri, I've been praying for you, because she was so sick. She had heart failure and kidney failure. I said, I've been praying for you, but now with you gone, I will pray to you. And she, even in that moment on her deathbed, she made a joke, and she made us both laugh. She said, I said, I'll be praying to you. And she said, and I will be your wish fulfilling desire tree, Sankita. So we both laughed, and with tears, we were laughing at that. And, she just had such a way about her, that even up until the last couple of hours before she left her body, she was making me laugh. She was just an incredible soul. And she deserves to be honored. She deserves to be remembered. She, like I said, she did the service of at least 6 devotees and ran the temple from upstairs. And she didn't want to be honored by anyone. She didn't care about being recognized or admired, or, she wasn't into this false prestige. She didn't care if anybody even knew who she was. She just did all the service from upstairs. And because of her health, she barely came down at the end, the last year or two. But she just wanted to serve, just humbly serve. And she was just very exemplary in that way. And there's just not enough time to even talk about all of her glories. But I wish all of you could have known her. And I know a lot of you did. And I just, anyway, I'll end here, and just please, everyone who knew her, just go on glorifying her, because she definitely deserves that. And it's our honor to remember her and glorify her as such a saintly devotee. So all glories to Savitri Devi Dasi, and all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you.
Krishna, thank you so much, Mother Sangeeta. You're keeping it alive, and it's just by you speaking like this and remembering a dear friend, a dear devotee, a person who spent so much time in Philadelphia. Others will get to understand and know Mother Savitri as well. So don't stop. See you next year. We'll hear from you. We'll prepare a time for you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Mother Sangeeta. I know her very, very little. At the end, I know her very little. I used to go to her room, and she was so nice. And I just, there are no words to explain how she wanted to teach me all those, how to make the garden, those beads.
Yeah.
And she said, she was showing me a lot of things.
I
So
remember.
that I miss her a lot. Really, that is heart touching.
Yeah.
God bless her soul. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you very
was
much.
thinking of that today, how she tried to
She wanted to teach me. She was so smiling face, and she was just going here and there with the chair, moving with the chair. Still, she was so active.
It's your fault.
I miss her. I'm so unlucky not learning anything from her.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Mother Sangeeta Prabhu. Thank you, Haryashtra Prabhu, for that very sweet remembrance. Also, Haryashtra Prabhu, thank you for that very nice class. I know Mother Savitri, she is very dearly missed. We go, yeah, as was mentioned, she did so many services here in the temple, and I just wonder, Krishna is really carrying the the things that she so many of the things that she did. You just seems like every month something comes up and you just say, oh my gosh, I so much wish Mother Savitri was here. And very sweet. Thank you very much to Mother Savitri and Vamanadev Prabhu for sponsoring the feast in her honor. I think we're going to try to do a feast in the upcoming weeks of something that she would have thought of herself. But today we'll remember her with great fondness and pray for her to give us that she continues to help us here in Philadelphia serving Srila Prabhupada. We want to continue on here to close out the program, and I have a couple announcements that I want to give. We have another sponsor for tonight that was done. I want to recognize them as well. Purimita and Kastuba, in loving memory of their father, Sri Pabritra Kumar Dora. So we also want to offer our prayers to that family. So let us chant the holy name together on behalf of this family. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna, Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare.
Hare Hare.
A couple of things coming up this week. Actually, right now we have darshan that is open in the temple. So you may have seen some of the people. The line has started already. The weather's getting nicer. The people are coming. So darshan is open on Sunday, starting at 6 o'clock to 7:15. I know last week we had Gaur Purnima. We had a large gathering here. We have not gone back to that. That was kind of just a one-time thing. As the weather gets better, we're looking into doing more things outside where we can maybe do some gatherings in open air and social distancing, having kirtans, classes outside. But for right now, we're still going to be doing this virtually. Virtual classes that we have throughout the week, every morning at 7:50 to 8:30, we have Srimad Bhagavatam, 7 days a week. So we ask, to please check it out. I know it's 7 days a week. If new to it, your schedule may not always be able to do 7 days a week. Maybe you can, that's great. But if you can pick 1 or 2 days a week, try to come and join in and get the association of devotees to hearing the scriptures and discussing them with us. Same Zoom channel, all our programs are on the same Zoom channel. Also, Prabhu, please. Then also we have Thursday evening, we have our Srila Prabhupada Leela night. This is a wonderful way to connect with our founder, Acharya Srila Prabhupada. how he started this Krishna consciousness movement, the sacrifices he went through for us, a way that we can connect very specially, you know, with Srila Prabhupada, through hearing from accounts of his disciples. And then also we want to bring up, you know, on April 13th, it's a Tuesday night, we're having a temple report. You know, what's happening with COVID, when are we opening up, some of the projects we're working on, some of the amazing things that you may not have heard about that, you know, that we've achieved over these last, you know, several months, as well as what we're looking to do in the upcoming months. So every quarter we're going to be giving these reports. So it's a great way to kind of check in. When people were coming to the temple, we'd have big feasts and people were talking a lot more, gathering, a lot more information kind of got out there. Now we're a little bit more restricted, even though we have these virtual classes and we have the newsletter, but we want to kind of have these little check-in points where we give the community an update on some of the important things that are happening. So that is April 13th at 6:30 p.m., again on the same Zoom channel. And all right, we're going to close now, but I see this, I want to give a shout out to Dave, who's written some nice things in the chat. Thank you also to the devotees that have responded to that. I haven't gotten a chance to look at it, but I see the last one about what is your belief on Jesus Christ being that you are Hindu? I ask because I was raised a Christian. I'll answer this very quickly. Srila Prabhupada recognized Jesus Christ as a Shakyavesh avatar, as a pure devotee. And that is our belief that Jesus Christ is a bona fide teacher of spirituality. We don't believe that Jesus Christ is God, as some do, that he was, you know, the Son of God. And he was, he said, an empowered incarnation of God. So oftentimes you'll see in different religions where it's like, you know, you believe in this or the God, or you believe in that, you know, if you believe Krishna, you don't, you know, you may not be accepted in the Christian faith. Or if you believe in Muhammad, you may not be accepted in the Christian faith. Or if you believe in Krishna, you may not be accepted in the Islamic faith. That is not necessarily the case with us. We understand that the Lord comes in many, many different ways at different times, in different places, in different circumstances, to deliver the message, you know, to the people of that time on how we can slowly or rapidly reconnect and come back to our original consciousness, Krishna consciousness. So we can elaborate more on this. Dave, I could see that you'd send an email so we can respond more and connect and maybe continue more of a discussion at that point. But the fact that it is Easter Sunday, I think it was very appropriate. And we look forward to more conversations with you as well as the other devotees. Hare Krishna. We will everybody stay, you know, continue to stay safe. The pandemic is still going on, even though the vaccines are getting out there. The numbers are still quite high with COVID. So please please still remain careful. We'll remain careful here at the temple to keep everyone safe. That does come. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. We look forward to seeing you throughout the week. Again, our thanks to Haryashra Prabhu, Mother Sangeeta Prabhu, and all the assembled devotees that came out tonight. Hare Krishna.